All right, hey folks, good morning. I'm a little sick, so I started a little late today, and we'll see how things go. So let me take a moment here to check in my signal, make sure that my voice is coming through clear. Let me take a moment here to check in my signal, make sure that my voice is check. Let me take a moment here to check in my signal, make sure that my voice is check.
It's quiet, isn't it? I haven't quite figured that out yet. There's something odd. But that seems okay, so we'll go ahead and lock that down. I'm going to grab my link here for social media. I'm going to do an update real quick here on my posts so folks can see that I'm live. And I'm nursing the orange juice today, and we'll see how things go. So my name is Phil Karrnath. Hey, what's up? I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And we're creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Specifically, I'm making an adventure for Eberron called Crystals of Mabars, or 7th and 8th level characters fighting undead demons and necromancers in the Carnwood of Karrnath on the continent of Corvair. And we're doing a Bob Ross style landscape and painting to celebrate victory. It's just a pleasant glade. So let me fix my screen. There we go. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for. Hey, new subscribers! Thanks a lot, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we're live in the future. Here is a bunch of books I've already created on the DMsGuild. They're all 100% free preview, so go ahead and check them out. And here's the full playlist of all 511 episodes of us creating this adventure. And when we finish this one, I have a design stream that I run Mondays and Thursday nights, as well as hold on, that goes like that. That goes like that. Okay, good. We're good to go. Let me get rid of this book cover here, and we'll get into the painting. For those that aren't familiar with the channel, here's our masking layer. Here's the text. Here's the page trim that's work in progress, and this is a 16:9 format. So if you're looking at this full screen, that's a little big. There we go. It's sized in the horizontal format in 3 columns. It's 16:9 format for digital use on a large screen, tablet, or phone. And each column, if you're in a vertical orientation, is also 16:9, so you can look at one column at a time. This is a 2-column splash. That's 17 inches wide, 10 inches tall canvas. So this is about 10 inches worth of space and 2, 3, maybe about 6 inches. So it's like a 10 by 6 inch space that we're working inside of here. So that's the size of the canvas that we're working on. And of course, when this publishes on DMsGuild, it'll be a PDF. I don't intend for it to be printed, but I guess you could print it on your own if you fed legal sheets 11 by 17 through a printer. I don't personally recommend it, but you can. So cheers, and thanks a lot for being here. We'll get to work for a little bit. So Bob Ross, I've done a lot of Bob Ross paintings in my day. A lot of them, over 120 some odd different Bob Ross paintings overall, and we're going to continue applying those techniques today. Let me go check out my reference stack. Let's see, I want to fish up some forest stuff, so let's go into a forest and grab a color for texture. It's a little close, it's starting to break it down. But let's find some, yeah, like this. This looks like decent. Let's get into the shrubbery layer here. On Friday, okay, confession, right? On Friday I had professed that I would be done with this painting. But when I was looking at the composition, it really bored the hell out of me. This feels like a good. Hold on. Let me grab this color. That feels pretty good. All right, and we'll conceal our reference. Get rid of that. Go back down here into our shrubbery brush. When we left off last, for those that have been tuning in, but those that are new to the channel don't know, this is what the composition was, and we had put in some tulips down here along the base for a shock of color. But when I'm looking at the composition, I'm like, this feels really flat. So I wasn't satisfied with that, and what I realized the problem was is that it's too horizontal, it's too linear, and it feels very static. So to fix the static issue, we created a foreground tree that would break the frame into a smaller piece here. In this space here is smaller than the full frame, so this creates a point of focus on what's going on through here, while we also have all this remnant over here, which is like a side, like a little side window, right? And then also the curvature that we have here takes away from the linearity, the linear look of the field and the tree line. The mountains don't have that problem because the mountains have this break like this, but then everything below it flattens out, so it kills the composition. So by adding in this curve in here, that helps create a sense of motion, and by curving that up into this tree here with the foliage above, again, it creates this keyhole inside of the overall composition. So that creates movement and motion for your eye. The lines of it, the change in contrast from the fields to the foreground, fields to the background, the change in contrast from the mountains and the skyline, the breaking of these trees along the edges, that frames the piece, so it keeps it encapsulated. But these curvature helps keep the eye moving around the piece. And the more the eye wants to move around the piece, the more interesting it becomes. It's a good composition. That's compositional strength. So that's the premise that we're coming from when we're building this. So on Friday, I thought I'd be done with this piece, but as I was finishing it with the tulips, I'm like, God, this just feels dead. What went wrong? And it was the lack of motion inside of the composition that was killing the energy of it. So I have to recant. We're going to be working on this probably for a couple more days here. Big surprise, Phil's taking more time than expected on any particular aspect of a project. No big surprise there. So we're going to keep at it. These are the tools that I built. These brush sets are on my Patreon. If you follow me on Patreon, you don't even have to pay. Just if you follow me on Patreon, you can download these tools. I use this array of different brushes that we created is basically what we need to do all the Bob Ross stuff that we do. I've done over 120 Bob Ross paintings, like basically paint-alongs over the years, and maybe at some point we'll do another one. But with this mass here, I feel like, let's see. Well, I almost feel like having the tree above the foliage feels good. Yeah, that immediately feels good. I like that. So we're gonna keep that like that. We're gonna take some of this brush here. Okay, that's not gonna work. It might feel good, but it might feel good, but it looks wrong. So we're going to take. Come on, buddy. There we go. Using this brush, right, to create this dot, which creates a stipple pattern. We're also going to use that same stipple pattern as an eraser to remove pigment. So we use a very dark green as our base. And now we're overlaying that dark base with a lighter mid-tone with a texture brush here to start creating bush composition. Well, hey, Fox, it's good to see you, my guy. For those that don't know, Fox is one of our playtesters for the Martial Power System that we run on Saturdays. And I tell you what, man, if I didn't playtest stuff, I would not be able to stand behind the quality of work that I produce. I'm very, very proud of what I do, because
we have a lot of practical experience of actually utilizing those tools in live fire exercises that end up being really cool. So like the Spelljammer stuff, the color mana system that I use, we'll be doing a Bastion campaign as an experiment to see if it plays out the way that I like, mostly so that I can provide better guidance for DMs, DMing it myself. But the Bastion campaign will be the next book that we're going to probably publish after this adventure gets completed. This adventure as well, I ran like 4 different teams, maybe like 7 or 8 adventures with 4 different teams, and then we had me and 2 other DMs run this adventure. One of them was a player in a playtest, and another was just a complete stranger. It's like, yeah, I want to run some Eberron stuff, and this looks like a fun thing to do. Count me in. And so we handed off the document and all the maps and assets, and they just ran with it. And they're like, yeah, it's just a sandbox. It's a toolkit thing that we can just build stuff with. All the tools that we need. It was so proud to hear that they were just able to to absorb the content, look at the maps, look at the different factions that are in the scene, and let the players just fuck around and find out the way that they do. And it ran smoothly. The only feedback that they had was that if your team doesn't have a lot of AoE, the mobs can be really fucking dangerous. And it's like, well, that's if you don't have a good composition, shit's gonna go sideways on you. So that happens. So I mean, that was reasonable feedback. So there's my timer. Keep that going. So having some feedback about scaling and pacing, that was useful for us to feed in how we were doing random encounters and optional encounters in the adventure when we actually formatted it. So yeah, so Foxy, I appreciate you being around, man, and thanks for participating. And yeah, so there you go. It's most of my playtesters were people that jumped in. Come on, man. Photoshop sometimes has a problem. What I don't like about Photoshop 2025 in comparison to Photoshop 2023 is that the tools, like when I'm tapping on my keyboard to switch between tools, 25 seems to have a problem with recognizing that I've tapped a key. Like I used to be able to like tap zoom and then jerk my mouse, and it would immediately switch tools and implement the function of that tool. With 2025, there's like a delay, and I don't know where that delay is coming from. There's about a half second. Oops. There's about a half second delay that I don't understand where that glitch is coming from. I don't know if it's just enshittification or if it's some sort of. See, look at that. It did it again. It's doing it again. Not as good a tool. When I clicked the button to update 2023, what it did was it dumped 2023 and gave me 2025 instead. I'm like, it's been a couple weeks now, and I don't know if I like it. I'm in half a mind to go back to 2018 and just get a cracked key encoder and just run it rogue on my machine, because that's how crappy Photoshop 25 feels to me right now. I need to figure that out, because it's just the loss of performance is damn near intolerable to me. But I digress. Here's so it's super easy using the stippling method here, you see, to be able to drop in foliage like this. Like this is here, making it full screen again and looking at this is probably going to be the functioning size of this document for most. Here, let me make sure it's proper. There we go. This is probably going to be if you were full screening this right now, this would probably be the size that you would actually be able to view it on whatever device it is that you're on, with a 12-point font with the body of text. The primary objective is to rescue the character's friends and family, but if they don't disrupt the ritual, the manifest zone will become permanent in the next 48 hours, and the village will be attacked again by hordes of undead every 1d3 days. There. So it's easy enough for me to be able to read this, which means that this is the proper level of resolution or zoom on this picture. And at this level, this texture is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It just looks, it's your eye just melts it into that's foliage. So you don't have to actually try that hard.
So it's a really fun technique, being able to play with the depth, like the amount of resolution that you have, the intended viewing size. Like if you super zoom in, you see it's just stippling dots. But the pattern that we use for stippling these dots is meant to lock in with, like, this brush that I use has a randomizer in the brush settings that changes the size and changes the orientation of the brush. But you can see that how well it locks in with like puzzle pieces. All the pieces that are created by this brush lock into each other. And I built this brush with this weird shape intentionally to be able to create these geomorphic shapes. And then I come back through and I erase them again, and I think about form and angle of the bush, and I create these hedge lines. So all the brushes that I have in this brush set are built intentionally to be able to create this type of performance. See, look, that took nothing. It's like Bob Ross. It's just, you just dotted. Bob is different because he adds paint and he can't ever take it away. So the way that his techniques works is that he knows how he's going to add the stuff in. So he's developed his technique to add that in, but he also has a lot more variable and physical control over the medium, a lot more degrees of control in actual three-dimensional meat space than I do on this two-dimensional plane. To compensate for that, and it takes a little bit longer, but to compensate for it is I use a sequence of adding and then erasing the pigment from a layer to ultimately be able to create the same result, which I'm demonstrating here now. But that's just, oh God, that just feels, doesn't that just fucking feel good? Man. Hey, what's up? Hey, Matthew, good to see you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I love doing Bob Ross paintings. I have one more 2-column splash page I'm going to do, and it's of Ader Academy itself in the city of Ader. That's going to be an architectural based piece. There'll be some environment, there'll be some landscape type stuff in it. It's a landscape composition, but it's architectural instead of natural environment. So that's a little intimidating. Architecture requires a lot of precision. We'll see how good of a job I do with it, but that'll be the last major piece that I have left to do. Everything at that point is basically like half column. Come on. There you go. Everything else would be like half column or less, so it shouldn't take nearly as long to do the rest of the pieces in here. Most of the book is like the first 70 pages, the vast majority of it, the artwork in those pages is just maps of different dungeons and environments that the characters are fighting and stuff and exploring through. So a lot of the page work is all the maps that we've done over the past 500 episodes, pre-building for when we actually assembled the book, knowing that we needed to have all those maps in place. So we're flush in the toilet of life. We are really spiraling down at this point. I'm excited about that, but there's still a lot of work to do. But a couple of months and we'll be done. We'll have it published and we'll move on to the Bastion campaign book, which I am ridiculously excited about publishing. So tap that on through here like that. Just adding in some, and we'll probably do some highlights or like some wildflower type stuff in the bushes. But the bush depth itself, I just kind of tap along and I just spin my brush as I tap, and it creates these interesting little organic shapes in here that your eye will just naturally melt into shrubbery. And just this cascading layering effect adds additional layers of depth that pushes the eye further, pushes all the stuff in the composition further away from the camera. It just adds more volume. And the eye likes that. But I'm sick. I don't go out and I'm not amongst the people enough. I'm isolated too often. So when I spend time with people, I end up getting sick. So chugging tea and orange juice, having a coffee chaser. Hey, what's up? Added a lot of AI features over 2024 Photoshop. Yeah, it's I don't use any of that stuff. They try to add this like co-piloting thing in there. I guess, well, I don't know why. I mean, they're just trying to be gimmicky, I guess. I don't. I would honestly. I don't know. I've talked about it a little bit. Like if you were able to build your own customized assistant, like Major Katsuragi style AIs that basically perform minion tasks for you on the fly on command. I don't know, honestly, for my artwork, I don't know if I would use it because I really enjoy the process of, like, if I were to use an AI tool, it would be like, yeah, do some shrubbery down here like this, like stipple out a pattern for a bush and say, just replicate that. But me actually doing it myself is the peace and tranquility that I actually have in doing a project. So I don't know how valuable that would actually be to me. So far, nothing that AI is, I mean, the actual process that I use of creating things is pretty much the same process that AI uses to create stuff as well already. I've talked about that a little bit, about how I'll start like with a swirl of lines or like a puddle of paint, and then I'll start to scratch in the rough form, and then from that rough form I'll further refine that roughness into a more anatomically correct image, and then I'll have it's that same vagueness that then coalesces into specific details. That's the same process that AI does. That's how I do my painting. And so I can see, like, when you're watching AI render an image, and it's like, yeah, that's what I do. It's just the computer does it really, really fast compared to how quickly I do it. If you go back and check my streams, like probably like in the 300s, like the 150s and the 300 range of my my playlist here on this Eberron stream, you'll see me making creature and NPC tokens, and you'll see what I'm talking about there. It's basically the same process. I'm going to disappear the filigree layer, and let's get rid of the canopy so that we can see our tree more clearly. So I'm happy with I'm happy with where the shrubbery is right now on the ground. I'm going to want to add some more color in, but first I want to continue working on the bark. So we're just taking our mountain chisel, the same brush that we used last episode to make the snow line on the mountains. We're using that same brush, but radically thin, like a razor, like a needle, to now use that needle to drop texture into our branch like this to create bark. I'm going to use a round eraser to get rid of some of the taller bits here. So yeah, so we I guess this is a demonstration of that specific that vague to specific ratio here with this branch, that we just have the outline of the branch to set the silhouette and how it, and basically how it impacts the space as a composition, and then we go inside that silhouette and start filling in the details. I really like that technique. We've developed this over the past, I guess, 6 years, and it's been a really fun process to work in this type of flow. The harsh blackness, or I guess this is like a super dark green. Regardless, whatever, a super dark base naturally creates more separation of layers. This naturally stands out from the background because of the level of contrast that the tree has to the sky. So this is a reliable means of adding in that texture, of adding in that contrast. I gotta make sure that I keep my brush oriented correctly to maintain the illusion. If I get all haphazard about the directions that I move the brush, like, it has to flow naturally along the path of growth that the branch would have. That's how I can create those effects. So we're just doing a base layer right now, and then we'll add on highlights with the same stipple method on a separate layer to start build up and adding on top of this to the right, on the right hand side of the screen where the light's coming in from. So, but it's going to be the same technique to help reinforce the texture. I don't want to change texture on this. Like on the bushes down below, when we get to the highlights, I'll probably do a different type of brush on the highlights. Let's keep that clean. I'm not using needlepoint for the eraser because it's so thin, it's obnoxious. A rounder brush that can cover more area allows me to be less accurate in my erasing because I'm just trying to get rid of stuff that's outside the lines, the slop. Speaking of slop, let's clean that up a bit. I can feel an urge to go revisit the Bastion campaign document that we had been working on. It's in a good resting state. It's functional. I think it could be better organized. Obviously, we're going to have to organize and flesh out the text for us to be able to actually publish it. And I'd like to get it off to a publisher. I'm getting ahead of myself. When this project ends, my Monday through Friday morning slot of artwork opens up, and then the question is, what am I going to work on? The natural answer is the book cover to the next piece. But the amount of time it's going to take for me to have the Bastion campaign edited is probably going to take longer than it's going to take, potentially take longer than it will for me to finish the cover art for that book. We can start doing some preparation for that book, but I'm going to have a gap. So I have a number of books that I want to publish that we've been working on here over the past number of months. It may be that I might actually switch gears in the morning to working on color mana, working on layouts and starting the construction process of that book, while I wait for the edits to come back from the for the Bastion campaign book. I'm not sure 100% how that's all going to pan out, but I'm getting close enough to being done with this book to actually start thinking about that. When I'm in the thick of a book, I don't have to really think about what's next. I just got to focus on staying focused. But as a project ends, a new one begins. Shit, man, maybe we can finish out that that Volcath battle for locks that we were working on last year. Ironically, the song that's playing right now, where do we go from here? Perhaps that song just triggers me into thinking about the future. I do like my Epidemic music. It's 17 bucks a month. I mean, I use the hell out of it. So, I mean, it's definitely earning its keep, but there's a lot of subscription services that stack up on it. Aside from just the internet itself, and then sacking away cash for repair and an improvement on the computer. Adobe Photoshop has a subscription, and Epidemic Music has a subscription. Maybe that's it. That's actually not that bad. But between Photoshop being like 20 bucks a month and Epidemic being 17 bucks a month, and then the internet, like all things included, it's like in Seattle, it's about 100 bucks a month. So for me to be able to stream like this, assuming that the computer doesn't have any costs, it's about 120, 130 bucks here in Seattle to be able to do this on a monthly basis. Luckily, the amount of money that I make on DMsGuild is typically equal to or more than that. Not always. Sometimes I have shea months. But the actual physical expenses I have in creating stuff is covered by the rate of people purchasing them. So it's sustainable. Doing this for me is sustainable. It covers cost of expense, which is pretty damn good for a hobby.
I can't retire anytime soon doing this, but I also maybe have 20 years to get to a point where I can figure that out. And if at some point this escalates to a place where I can actually quit my day job and do this just full time, then that would be just more time me spending here talking to you guys while I paint. But mostly it would be more playtesting, more live games that I could run on my Discord. And potentially just faster rolling out of different concepts, being able to produce more material quicker. That would be the dream, but I'm really happy with where I'm at. This is, if that takes 10 years to get to that point, that's fine by me, because that is allowing me the opportunity to adapt slowly to the change in audience mass, level of quality, changes in the industry, changes in technology. Never before have I been rewarded so thoroughly for being so slow in developing and evolving my techniques. Hey, what's up? Love your tree bark. Thank you. Yeah, I love this technique. It's so much fun. It's a lot of fun. It takes a little while, but it allows me to just like actually manually control all these steps in here. We have the that was the wrong button. Hey, what's up? 1 second. Let's hide the text. This is ultimately where we're getting to. Same type of texture that we have on this tree. Same type of foliage. We'll be duplicating this effect. And this is one of the illustrations we have elsewhere in the book. Go. And then when we layer in the canopy on top of it, it'll just help cement this in even more. This feels a little thick. So finish up this layer here, and then we'll start adding in the highlights over it. You know what? I think probably the logical thing would be to add in the canopy next, so we can see where the light breaks naturally through the canopy, for us to be able to be more informed about where highlights should be hitting on these branches. That seems more logical to me. That's why I'm holding off on the shrubbery on the ground. Because I don't know what the canopy on the tree line looks like yet to see where light would what would just intuitively feel like where should light hit. But I wanted to finish up this bark layer, so that when we drop in the canopy like this, we can see where the actual branches are at inside the canopy to help guide the foliage of the canopy. Obviously, this is not a good-looking canopy, but it does fill the space. So there's that. Yeah. So I think where we're at right now is let's fuck around with the canopy. So I'm going to blip out the canopy right now. We're going to go back to our very dark green. canopy should be behind the tree. The tree branches don't go like out to here, so I shouldn't really create the branches like that. What kind of a brush do I want to use for this? My gut's telling me my conifer branch, my conifer tip branch. Here's what this brush looks like on its own. So let's just start dotting in some stuff here. Just by stippling, it has this rough fluzziness to it. Come on. Trying to hit the zoom brush here. Yeah, I don't like that. It's basically spinning the brush to get that rounded edge that I have, that leading round edge there. Help build that out, and by spinning around it removes the pattern. You want patterns, but you don't want it to look like patterns. Like every leaf on a maple tree, you know what a maple tree leaf looks like, because maple tree leaves are consistent in their shape. It's the shape of a maple leaf, so it has to be a replicatable pattern. But if it looks like it's just cut and paste or stamped, your eye starts to question like shouldn't those branches, shouldn't those leaves and stuff have angles and foreshortening and stuff if they actually exist inside 3D space? If it's not aesthetically pleasing enough, your eye will start to ask those kind of questions, and that's the start of death for your illustration. Once your eye starts to question, is this realistic? Is this been created realistically? It's going to start doubting everything in the composition. You can't get anything done. Use the same brush to erase with. Super easy just to cheat this shit in using these shapes. And again, I developed all these shapes by watching Bob Ross. I would actually on YouTube, I would pause, he'd stipple, and then he lift his brush away, and I would freeze it when he lifts the paintbrush far enough away to see that stipple pattern, and then I would basically screenshot that stipple pattern, polarize it so it's just black and white, and then I would destroy the negative space, just leaving the actual pigment that he put on the page, and create a brush out of it. And so all the brushes I have in here are basically I've sculpted them, physically sculpted them myself, but these were like the foliage spin brush that we're using for the canvas down here. This foliage spin here, the fractal foliage here, the conifer tips, the conifer foliage, as well as the mountain chisel and the mountain razor brushes. These are all the result of me extracting many examples of Bob, either using his palette knife to scrape across for mountain snow, the negative and positive of the paint that you leave on the page, or that stippling when you would do bush foliage. I would grab a ton of those examples and look at how those stipple patterns work, and that's how we built these. That's how we built these brushes, and now we can use them to stipple ourselves, knowing that we don't have the same degree of freedom that Bob has and meat space of having a 10,000 horsehairs in a 2-inch brush that will all splay, spin, and bend in different ways depending on how much pressure and angle he puts on the brush. Photoshop doesn't have that level of precision, so we have to use this add and remove method of stippling the brush and stippling the eraser with the same pattern to be able to produce aesthetically pleasing results that are not dissimilar to what Bob produces on canvas.
But yeah, I don't think that's IP actionable against me at all. It's transformative in the extreme. So I think that means fair usage. That's a decent little tree we got going on there. I don't like this. I don't like this. Right now I'm sculpting for composition, looking at how the negative space here between the mountain, the skyline, the mountains between the mountain and the canopy here. I'm being picky about how that space sits. I like that, but it makes me want to go down here to our let's see. Makes me want to mess around with where this front tree is at. Yeah, that gap is okay. I was looking at how can I seal this off to close in that space, but I think the frame of the clouds helps reinforce the overall. I like it. I think it's okay. This feels a little intrusive, but I think I'm okay with it. Yeah. I'm gonna take a sip of orange juice. Stave away the sickness. Nope, yep, that's pretty good. I think I can let that fly. So we can see that the branches poking in or extending here over the foliage. We're not depicting the branches extending all the way out to like this point here. What I'll do is I'll make this foreground, quote unquote foreground, over the branches, while all of this back here obviously has to be behind the branches. So we'll be able to manipulate. We'll have some foreground over here to cover over these branches, but this is obviously much more forward facing. We can already see in the branch, in the actual branch here, that is in front of the curvature that we have here is in front of the body of the trunk, so it's already presenting itself as moving towards the camera. Yeah, I think this is gonna work out. Okay, cool. So that's there. Let's go grab our reference again to fish out another color that we want to use. See, it's just stipples. When you get in super close, it's just stipple. I think this will be a decent mid-tone. Call this trunk. Call this back canopy.
front canopy that's overlapping on top of the branches that we were just talking about. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Defected? I came for the art. I didn't know you did landscapes. Nice work. Thank you. I only have a few minutes, so I thought I'd stop by and say nice work. I really appreciate you tagging in. Thank you, man. Yeah, I've done hundreds of Bob Ross. Well, 120. That's 1.2, which is technically plural. So I've done a ton of Bob Ross paintings. I used to do them on Twitch, but I would also use copyright licensed music while I would do it. So I got demonetized pretty heavily, and then I started realizing that, you know what, Twitch destroys all my content after a week or two. So a lot of that stuff is just gone. A lot of it just got deleted. So I lost a lot of it, but I still have some of them laying around. I'm still playing with the. It's like Led Zeppelin and Sepultura and Black Sabbath and Grimes and Deadmau5. A bunch of like really popular music that will absolutely get me copyright struck. Although I have some of them saved, it's like I don't know how I would properly share them. But it was me doing a literal paint along, like watching Bob Ross, pausing Bob Ross like he's doing a sky. So I'd watch him paint it. I would pause, color sample his sky colors, and then do the same thing on my canvas while listening to copyright strikeable music. So I don't necessarily know how to bring that over to this platform here, but I spent a lot of time, a year, just doing Bob Ross paintings, just so I could get good at them, so that when I'm doing books like this, I could do that. Like landscapes in fantasy art is like huge. So being able to produce it is a massive plus to any of the books that I put out. I want to include landscapes as often as I can, because that stuff sells the setting, you know. Nothing like like being able to demonstrate the like wilderness and ruins and architecture and stuff that's dotted amongst natural scenery is a really fun aspect of fantasy illustration that I wasn't able to really embrace because my landscapes were shit. So I put in the time and did the studying and got good with it, and now it's my favorite thing to do. So any excuse I have, Sepultura. I don't know. I honestly don't know if it was Sepultura specifically. I just know that I kept getting alerts that I was being demonetized. Probably from Zeppelin and Beatles and stuff like that more than anything else. But yeah, I made it unfriendly to myself. I didn't care. You know, I was just doing that as a whim. It's like, I don't expect this to last, but it's like, you know what? I'm becoming addicted to doing this type of stuff. And it kind of grew. So I don't regret losing this stuff. It was a lesson learned. It was a lesson learned. I could potentially claim it as being transformative. Not the music, but like watching Bob Ross and then painting, doing a paint along with it. I could potentially claim that as transformative, but I would expect to get dinged repeatedly for copyright offense. Because Bob Ross streams, they have regular Bob Ross marathons on YouTube, so I would anticipate trouble on that front. I don't know. Maybe if my stream gets big enough, I can do like a Patreon's only quiet stream occasionally at some point. Look how easy it is for us just to dot that shit in. God, it looks so good. I want to get rid of these little biddly remnants that are flicking out here. Those need to get reined in a little bit because they're just free floating in space. Those freeloader free floaters can't be justified. I have to be careful about it though because they add to the mass overall. So I
I have to be a little discriminatory about what I erase and what I decide to leave in place. If it's floating outside of the mask too much, I gotta remove it. There we go. That feels better. There. Have little trees while jamming up beneath the roommates. Hell yeah, man. You know where I'm coming from. God, Sepultura is such a good band. I'll be a snob and say that with Max, Sepultura is the bomb. Like Roots was the last album that Max was part of the team. Max, and I don't know his brother's name, but the band persisted after the creator bailed, and I don't like Soulfly nearly as much as I like classic Sepultura. But Soulfly feels more like Sepultura than Sepultura does now. But after Roots, I kind of bailed on it. This is like, it changed. You know what really pisses me off? Sorry, quick tangent, but what really pisses me off is that White Zombie, Astro Creep 2000 was the last album that they did before Egos exploded that band. Holy shit! I could have used another 2 or 3 albums off of what Astro Creep went to. That was so good. Them picking up Tempesta, was it Tempestra, the drummer from Testament? Picking him up as their drummer was fucking sick. That was exactly what that band needed. God, they punched out so much energy. Like prior to Astro Creep, White Zombie was kind of like a slow grind stripper sort of band. But man, once they tossed in that new drummer, holy fuck, that got sick. God, what just a jam album. It's such a shame that was the last thing that they did. Rob Zombie went off to do his own thing, and you know, and he went back to stripper vibes. It's just like, you can't rock worth a shit, man. It's a shame. It's a damn shame. Where are we at on time? I know my time is going to be okay. I'm in my last 20-minute burst. I know I started a little late today because I'm under the weather, so I slept in a little bit. But God, the world that could have been, you know? There's an alternate reality where White Zombie put out 15 albums before they blew up in an airplane crash or some shit. And if fractal reality is true and we get to explore those fractals when we die, I am going to listen to some insane White Zombie. Yeah. Blood, Milk, and Sky was our theme song for our Dark Sun campaigns in 1992. We would always play it. We would always play it when we were prepping. God damn, such good. I saw a belly dancer perform to Blood, Milk, and Sky at a cabaret show in Seattle back in I want to say 2005. Holy fuck, that was amazing. Good times. Good times. Okay, I think I don't think I need more color differentiation in the background, but I think want to switch to the foreground. So we'll call this front canopy. And let's jump back into our references. I feel the need to have more liquid.
we're gonna work on Strixhaven backgrounds and the credit system for Strixhaven tonight on our game design live stream. Yeah, that feels good. I like that. I think that'll work as a color. I got a bit right on, man. Well, hey, thanks for swinging by, dude. I really appreciate you tagging in with me. Thank you. Keep the peace. Here we can dot it across like this. Not bad. Let's add in another layer and let's go find. Knock it off. There. That'll be a good one. We'll go with that. Just gotta dot it in. Dot 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 dot. It's a fun little texture. And I don't feel like I need to take that much further. If I try to overwork it, it's just gonna look overworked. So I think I'm just gonna let that sit. It's simple. I like how it looks. It does the job. I think maybe over here, maybe I want to cut, paste, and then drop the opacity a little bit. Make it a little darker than it would be over here. That feels like a natural thing to do to work with the lighting of the piece that we were talking about. There, yeah, I think that foliage looks pretty good. I'm just gonna let that sit like that, and now we get to go back into our trunk and start working on the highlights of the trunk, and then we'll do the highlights in the on the foliage on the ground, and then the piece will actually be done. So far so good, so what, right guys? It's coming along, but it's not promised yet. So let's be diligent and figure this thing out. If I can get my mouse tools to work, thank you. Let's just grab this as a highlight. Grab our needle. we're using this conifer brush. See, I'm using the edge of the conifer brush here because it's got that broken pattern, so it creates that neat, that woodly effect. Super easy cheaty. It's meticulous, but it's really fast. But this is how you can, this is a really good case in point of, like, you can give somebody brushes. You could go buy brushes. You can go grab these brushes for my Patreon. But if you don't understand where they're coming from, it's like giving a kid with a learner permit, a driver's learner permit, a Ferrari. Like, you're not going to be able to get maximum performance out of that vehicle until you learn how to fucking drive. And brush sets are kind of the same way. You can have as many brush sets as if you want, but if you don't have the technique or the ability to, if you don't have mastery over the tools to understand how they mechanically operate and what you can do with them, then it doesn't really matter what you're driving. I want to be careful about lighting up in here because it's going to disappear into the canopy pretty quickly, but I do want to have it present. So tap in the effect like that. Actually, instead of adding in this next layer like this, I'm going to create a new layer and tap these in on the new layer so that I can fuck with the opacity to darken it so it has light curvature. Look at that. Look how easy that is. It's so easy. So fucking ridiculously easy to do. There, and then we'll drop the opacity on it a little bit. We're going to work on the back edge of it too. With this faded opacity, and then we'll have the middle of the we'll darken the core of it facing away from the light. But cylinders have that, like trunks are cylinders, so the curved shape of the cylinder is going to have some light wrapping around it a little bit with the environment. So that's why I want to be here, tapping this in on the back side to help reinforce that curved linear shape. Technically a form. Shapes are two-dimensional, forms are three-dimensional, and I'm creating a three-dimensional form on the two-dimensional space. Optical illusions. It's an illusion. You tap away at it to create the rough texture. Easy peasy. Now I feel like what I want to do is get into here. I'm going to duplicate this layer. necessarily like this. I like using this brush technique for the highlights, but I haven't done it on the base form. So we're messing around with the base form right now. I don't know if I like it, but what I can do, since I duplicated it, I can take the duplicated layer and drop it down to a really low opacity. See, I kind of like that. Kind of like that a lot. That looks pretty fucking good. No lie. Looks pretty good. We're almost out of time today, too. Yeah, it's 7:50 something. I got a few minutes left. So this seems like a really natural point for us to stop at. So I'm going to go ahead and put the brakes on now. I feel like I need one more. Actually, I need one more layer. And this will have a higher opacity again. But I need another just to fill in the middle of the cylinder a little bit more. There, and then we're gonna drop this down to I think 50%. Probably do just fine. There. Super easy bark. Look at that shit. Look how fucking easy that was. I love this stuff, and I don't have to worry about having such intense detail at the top of it because it's you know. Yeah, up there it's fine. It's the detail that we really want to pay attention to is down here towards the trunk where it's standing out. Once it gets pushed up into the actual tree itself, we can make all that, the detail just kind of disappears into it, doesn't matter anymore. So that looks pretty good. I think what we'll probably end up doing is we'll probably spend a little bit of time. I don't have time to work on the brush on the bush tomorrow, but I think we're going to have this finished tomorrow. I can come back and mess around with the canopy and the trunk just a little bit more. Maybe the branches up in there, make some additional twigs and sticks and stuff, some highlights, and then we'll drop down here into the ground brush. Maybe put some wildflowers in here. We did the tulips, so maybe I can toss in some tulips and roses in here somewhere, maybe just as a little spark of color. Not 100% on that yet, maybe. But overall, oh dude, this is looking really, really good. Love it. All right, hit and save. That's it for now. I'm going to be back. I'll be back for at least a little while. I'm going to get some sleep in so I can be 100% tomorrow. Get over this. I've been sick since Saturday, so it's not nearly as bad as others have been. But I want to shake this thing off. So I'll probably be on in 10 hours at 6 o'clock. I'll be back on to stream for maybe an hour or two. Working on the Strixhaven backgrounds, and we'll see where we go from there. So thanks a lot for hanging out, guys. I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.